In this video, I want to talk about how to stop vacillating on decisions once and for all, for everyone's sake. Let's jump in. Hi there, my name is Ruben Ugarte and I'm an expert in data, decisions, and strategy. And I help companies turn data into better decisions. And sometimes we run into challenges around making those decisions. And there's a lot of vacillation. You know, this back and forth, we should go this way, we should go that route. I think this vacillation is sometimes fine. You know, if you're dealing with something minor, you know, where to eat, and you're debating, do you want Chinese, do you want Mexican? And in some cases, you really want to move on. So I have talked to lots of people who find this vacillation exhausting. And just because we vacillate in one area doesn't mean we vacillate in another. But like everything, we need to find the root cause to understand what is going on. So why do we vacillate? Let me share 3 reasons why I think vacillation occurs and what we can do about it. Reason number 1 is that ambiguity is too high. We cannot deal with ambiguity. You know, sometimes I'm asked questions about the data. For example, I actually had a debugging issue that was asked by a client earlier today, and they said, we have this problem, no one is showing up to these events, what can we do? But even at this level, it's still quite ambiguous. I mean, what events are we talking about, right? There's 100 possibilities. Are all 100 failing, or is it just a handful? What happened exactly? Did anyone show up, or did only a few people show up? So this ambiguity is really hard to deal with. And trying to deal with ambiguity can just be a huge time waster. Look at macroeconomics, one of my favorite topics. For the past few years, there was a big debate as to whether the US economy was stagnating or whether it was growing. Huge debate. And then COVID-19 came, that completely changed everything. And even though there were a lot of business closures and unemployment rose, it now seems like the economy is growing, but it's still not clear. So those kind of issues are very hard to deal with. They're so ambiguous that you can find data in any direction and justify it. But in most of our cases, in our business, in our lives, we can make things very clear. So whenever you're dealing with issues, the first thing I'm trying to get at is what is really the concrete issue here. So we have some issues with live events. Let's first understand exactly which ones are we talking about. All of them, a handful. What exactly happened? Did anyone show up? Was only a handful of people? Did anyone register? And we start to break it down into very logical, concrete things that we can sort of touch and feel upon. And this is the same for anything, right? If you're struggling to, for example, determine COVID-19 restrictions, right? Should you wear a mask or not when you go to a party? Common question. I need to figure out what are the risks here, right? If you're vaccinated, here's a certain amount of risk that you can expect. How many people will be there? What's the size of the room? And so on. So you start to make things concrete and less ambiguous. The second reason why I think we vacillate is we are expecting too much certainty. You know, there's a beautiful quote by Will Durant, a historian, and let me read it out here. I will not get it right otherwise. You know, the first lesson of philosophy is that we cannot be wise about everything. We are fragments in infinity and moments in eternity. For such fork atoms to describe the universe or the supreme being must take the planets tremble with mirth. And I think what he's really getting at this quote is there's really very few things we can be certain about. You know, there's so many things we don't really know and understand, but we expect, we need the certainty in all areas of our lives. So many of my clients, when we talk about new ideas or new opportunities or innovation, they say, great, I like that, but what about this? What about that? What if this fails? What about that? And it's at some point you realize that we're not dealing with anything rationally anymore. We're not dealing with potential issues that we can tackle and we can prepare for. Now we're really just procrastinating because we don't feel the certain level of certainty and we fear the unknown. So really take this off your shoulders. Think about that. We are just spinning on this massive rock in this infinite universe that we're not quite sure how it came to be, surrounded by planets where we're not quite sure if there's anyone else there. And remember that this campaign you're going to run, this probably going to launch, it's probably not going to be that uncertain as compared to everything else. So just simply make the decision and adjust as you go. And a third reason is that we have to treat it like a muscle. Famously in the story of the Bible, Peter is told that he's given the keys to the kingdom, and then upon this rock he can build his church, which then of course becomes what we now call the Vatican, and so on. And I think upon the same rock you can actually build your muscle. So this idea of making decisions is something you can practice. And lucky for us, there's thousands of opportunities every day. Even the minor things like lunch, where to go, what to watch, what to do with your partner, what to do with your kids, what to do at work. So you can use this to really start building this muscle instead of letting atrophy. You know, if you haven't been to the gym in a year and you show up and try to do this very intense workout, it's going to be very painful either at the moment where you might get injured or definitely the day after. And so the same thing with decisions. If you find you struggle, you vacillate in some areas, it's great to start practicing in other areas or even in smaller stake areas. So then when it comes time to make those big decisions, you have those muscles ready. And that is all I have for today. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, share it on YouTube, all the things you can do. In the description box below, below, you'll find a few links that I think are quite helpful. The first is the link to my first book, The Data Mirage. You can buy it anywhere where books are sold. The second is my weekly newsletter, The Growth Needle. It's a free newsletter that talks about similar ideas like this, but in a text format. And third is Twitter, where I post bite-sized ideas on these very same topics that we're discussing today. Finally, in the comment section below, let me know what you thought. And until next time, talk soon.